right?
Oh, I'm fine. I
Okay.
got some insight into it. I never really
All right.
knew.
All right.
Yeah, Fred, I don't know if you got these numbers, but let me see if I understand. On this two-page summary of proposed service cuts, along with the items that you mentioned for the max, that equates to the 8.7 million,
Yeah, that's what I want to be sure that number is
or roughly 8.7.
roughly.
Yeah, roughly
Roughly.
8.7.
Approximately
And then,
9.
then of that, looking at the 8.7 and looking at these cuts that you're considering, how much of that is really, either percentage-wise or dollar-wise, approximately, related to the actual operation, costs of equipment, and if any, how much is related to actual personnel costs, labor or reduction in what it takes to operate?
Well, let me be precise on how I will be answering that, because I don't want to make a misunderstanding. We would consider mechanics that we pay keeping the vehicle going as a part of the labor cost rather than the equipment cost, although you can kind of argue the mechanic either side. Operators are clearly direct service. If you look at it from that standpoint, the vast majority of this is in fact on the labor side, that is the direct delivery of service. We are not, in fact, in the current budget year expected to be able to purchase any new vehicles, so that equipment. Now, of course, we have to buy parts for the replacement and so on. Beth, I don't know, do you have a precise number, but it would be the vast majority.
We look at that when we do these rough calculations, we do what Fred said, and then we get a cost per hour. So an hour of service of Max is X and an hour of service of Bus is Y, and that's how we estimate.
But the vast majority of that
But
is
the
the
vast
labor
majority
cost.
is still gonna be labor
It-
costs.
it-
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, that's what, yeah, thank you.
Vast majority.
Fred, as I was listening to you, you made one statement that kind of caught my, well, there's a couple of things on here that kind of caught my attention. You know that. I fought very hard for the, I think it's 56 and 57. And that's another issue that we'll discuss when, at a later date, of another position. But my concern is if we're cutting service, and I'll use one line, the 82nd, I think that's 72.
Yes.
If we're cutting service on 72, we're cutting time on the Max, and people have transferred over to the Max, and now we're going to stop them because maybe our 4 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever headways will affect them. To think we're putting them back in their cars.
No. First off, let me be clear on the 72 on 82nd. That will still be running at least at every 15-minute headway, so it's still a very high-quality level of service. But what we find is, as people have transferred from the 72 to the Green Line, the loads just aren't there as they had been before, and so we can take out a bus or two and spread those times and do it. But this is the very thing that we expect to be able to hear from people in both the open houses and the public hearing. And very frankly, we'll obviously take a very hard look at it. People come forward and say, boy, if I'm losing 1 or 2 minutes and I'm not going to be able to essentially make the Green Line work quite as well, that really forces me back in my car, we will look at that. I would say, as a regular transit rider, and my commute bus is a 17, I never like to be able to see any reduction. The 2 to 3 minute is always, even that a little amount is kind of troubling. Well, as regular riders, what we tend to do is we just adjust our schedules to be able to meet that new schedule and find ways to be able to do it. That's what I'm hoping that most other transit riders will find themselves doing as well. Let me go specifically to the 157 though, because that is one of the ones that we will talk about. And obviously this is going to be, if you recall, those of you who are deeply involved in this, one of the things we've heard from the community, this is up in the Happy Valley area, they really said, listen, with the opening of the Green Line, give us a chance to be able to really use that 157 to be able to gather up people and deliver them into Clackamas Town Center so that they can make use of the Green Line. And we said, okay, we will do a 6-month pilot on this and expect that we need to be able to see levels of ridership there. And in the 6 months, at least most of the 6 months that we've seen, there just hasn't been much ridership. But that's, again, something we expect to be able to hear about. I mean, look at, where's Carrie?
She's right here.
What's our ridership number on that? You remember?
I would say
157.
between 8 and 10 rides per hour, but the unique thing about the 157 is that the people who are on the unique portion are about 3 to 5 riders, because the 155 and the 157 travel along Sunnyside Road, and so many of the riders on the 157 are on Sunnyside. We just don't find that we have many on the unique portion.
So the unique portion would be when it takes off and goes 122nd over into Happy Valley?
And north of Sunnyside Road, yes.
Okay. Then,
But that's something we're going to have to hear about.
and, one of the things that came up in those meetings were, I should say, there's no service between Sunnyside Road and Foster. And those people feel that there's taxation without representation. And you need to find a way, to satisfy that need. And that's a big need in between Foster and Sunnyside.
We will be, obviously, this is the beginning of the process. But we understand we've been sensitive to 157. USA is very sensitive, even if we hadn't been otherwise.
And my last question is the 155. Does it come down Sunnybrook and come over to, is that the one that goes down
The
from?
156, 155 are kind of together, and they do that area and then serve Sunnyside Road.
Okay.
And those will be kept.
Yeah, there's no proposed changes on either the 155 or 157.
There's
Right.
some span, there's some.
Oh, there's a span issue on that?
On the 155.
Oh, on the 155.
On weekend.
See,
Right, yeah.
that puts, and I know for a fact that my son uses the 155 to go down to Clarkstown Center and everything, and to catch the Max, and I have him go in other places that way. But with a cut in service over there with those kids and their hours of going to work at Clarkstown Center or the different eateries around the area, it's really going to affect what goes on in that area. And the reason you don't have a lot of ridership in that entire area is because the service doesn't fit the needs of the people. I'll just be honest with you. And that I hear a lot. The service doesn't fit our needs. So it puts everyone in their cars. And
Just so you're aware, what we are proposing is that the first trip of the morning and the last trip of the evening on the 155 are the ones that are being talked about. Is that, I'm going to say that correctly, Carrie?
Actually, it's just weekends.
Oh, and just
And
weekends.
Yeah, the span of service would go from 9 to 7, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's the proposal. But we will be talking to those riders on those earlier and later trips.
okay, school starts at 8:45.
This is at weekend.
Weekends.
Oh,
This is
on the
weekends
This weekend.
only.
We're not going to change the weekdays on the 155.
Well, I think, listening to what you're suggesting and what your team has put together, I'm just reminded that we had the opportunity to have a transit agency that in fact had lots of frequency. And I think we're fortunate this time that we're able to just pare back a little bit in each area and not have to be eliminating a number of lines. The open houses are the opportunity, Bob, for everybody to be able to voice an opinion, and in the event that anyone is of the mind that TriMet's not listening, I'd remind them that last time during the open house process, there was a significant change from the initial plan to what actually was implemented. And to your credit for doing that, I'm not sure that if I were sitting in your spot, I'd have the patience to look through and listen to that. You do, and I think it provides a much higher level of service for those that rely on that. So I think you're going about this in a very appropriate manner, again. Hope we don't have to have a third round, but I know that you'll be thinking about that if things don't get any better. And if they do get better, I know that we would look to start adding back
Absolutely.
many of these things that we have pared back on. So if we knew we had the operating revenues that we have been experiencing, we'd have never allowed the agency to grow as large as it was. So now it's a time where we have to pull back in and live with what we have coming in the front door.